Welcome to another episode of 10,000 Miles. Today's going to be a lot of fun. Back in the day, I met a guy through my time in the music business named Richard Black. And man, was this guy talented. What a super talent he was. Charisma times 100. He was just, he was unbelievable. He had so many great moves. He was the consummate frontman. He had a unique voice. And through this episode, you're going to find out how much work he put into becoming the great artist that he was. He fronted a band called Shark Island that still to this day has a bit of a cult following. Just really, really incredible. Just an insightful, spiritual, just great dude who then transcended that work into a career as a metal sculptor. Wow. And some of his stuff, I'm going to post pictures in here, just was incredible. His metal sculptures are incredible. And you'll hear that his biggest project was 11 feet tall. Amazing. I'm excited to bring you this 80s/90s phenomenon. His name is Richard Black. Again, he's a friend. He's a talented guy. Let's dive in to Richard Black. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. We are back with another episode of 10,000 Miles, and today I have my old friend and colleague and associate and all-around good guy, Richard Black, on the podcast with me today. Richard, how are you doing?
Doing really good. Thank you for the nice announcement. 2 out of 3 ain't bad, but
that's what they say. Hey, for the audience, I met Richard over 30 years ago through the music business. Could you believe it's been that long?
I can't believe it. We were just kids. I didn't feel much different, but
no.
When I think about it, it's like, it's a lifetime. Really,
it is a lifetime. It's funny you mentioned that. I just caught up with somebody after 35 years. And their quote to me was, wow, that's a lifetime. That's been a lifetime ago.
You know, I read once that every cell in your body is replaced every 7 years.
Yeah.
So even our physical bodies weren't there 30 years ago.
No, not at all. We've been rejuvenated at least 4 times. Hey, Richard, just for the audience, because they've heard my nice intro of you already, but in your own words, just would you introduce yourself to the audience?
My professional name is Richard Black. I was the principal songwriter during the 80s and with Shark Island, and we did a few albums and so forth, and world tours and things like that, and I kind of walked away from it at one point for about 8 years, and then came back and did some more work, but since then I've been kind of spending my time with other forms of art. I kind of got discouraged with the music business for reasons we can talk about later. And I met Vic on one of my writing junkets back in New Jersey with the late Jack Ponte.
Yep.
And when I think about that time there, I have such fond memories of the whole group of people, because it was really a lot different energy wise than it was in LA. Everybody was really helpful and funny and welcoming, and the hospitality wasn't LA was a lot more cutthroat and competitive and kind of nasty. But man, I walked away from that. I was the only one that came in, and I was I was the odd man out, and I didn't know really what to expect or even how to fit in. But among along with writing a couple of really fantastic songs, I walked away with great memories and a lot of laughs, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. It was really a life-changing experience.
Man, that's so amazing to hear from you. It was for us as well. And I don't know if you ever really had a chance to talk to Jack about it, or if he gave you what was happening sort of from our lens behind the scenes. You know, we were hungry songwriters, like, and
Right.
we were trying to work with the most talented people we could find, whether it be found them on our own, get introduced through labels or publishing companies. And I forget exactly how we met. I think it was through the publishing companies, and or maybe through the label. I don't remember, but I remember Jack going, dude, you got to hear this. And the demo of Paris Calling was sent to us on cassette. And we were floored, man. We were just like, what the hell is this? You know, it was the demo. It wasn't even what was on the record.
Right.
And
well,
it was,
as you know, in music, often the demo is better than the final product.
But the demo was fantastic. But what we heard was something incredibly cool, something incredibly unique. For me, I'm like, and you may or may not remember this from the studio days, like Jack's like the guy who would want to turn some knobs and get into the guitars. But when it came to, and I would do the same, I'm a guitar player, but when it came to recording vocals, that was really my passion. And so even to this day, when I hear a great vocal, Richard, I always say to myself, I wish I was the lucky bastard to be sitting on the other side of the glass while that song was being put down. And when we heard your voice, both Jack and I were like, holy shit, man, this guy's unbelievable. And then you come in and you're your own person. You're like, and you had, best way I could say it, man, you had it. We always used to talk about the it factor, Jack and I. Is this person a star? Is that person a star? Can this person carry a stage? What's the performance going to look like, right? And in Jack's little writing room upstairs, man, you were putting on, like, during the songs, stage performances as if, you were that much into it. And Jack and I, behind the scenes, we were two fans. Even more so than becoming, colleagues and friends. We loved what you were doing. We dug your vibe. We were all in. We were unbelievably all in.
Well, likewise, I was looking up to you guys. I thought you guys were just like, wow, they got what a group, what a great group of guys to make music with. I was thinking the same thing, just same thing.
So cool. Mm-hmm. A little backstory, and we might as well get the genie out of the bottle here on it. When we met you, it was really before Guns N' Roses had really exploded. Like, people knew who they were. And your presence on stage and your presence in the room was very unique. And you had a way of communicating with your body and your moves and things alike. And I'll never forget when Jack and I saw the special that I think might have been on a New Year's Eve or something. It was Guns N' Roses live at the Ritz in New York. And it was a small concert. It was unbelievable. And he and I looked at each other and said, shit, man, those are Richard's moves. Like, I wonder if he was influenced by that. And then we later found out that Axl used to come to your shows. You guys knew each other, this and that. And, there was a little poetic borrowing going on maybe with some of your stage presence things. Tell us about your view on that.
Obviously this question comes up in one form or another.
Yeah.
And, if I look at it today, it's kind of, if people say, oh, Axl stole your stage moves, it's kind of insulting at this point. I mean, what has become of Axl these days is, basically, the voice of Herbert and Family Guy, right? And so, but back then, I come from a generation when you got to remember back in those days.
Yeah.
Those days of Orb, people didn't have cameras with them everywhere
Yeah,
they go.
that's
Look,
right.
we're doing this interview on this little cell phone here. I can't even
Yeah,
believe it. Little black plate, and look what we're creating with it. But if you wanted to record, back in those days, especially in a club, you would have to bring a VCR tape, which for people don't even know what that is, big old tape and a big shoulder mounted thing. And you have
yep,
to kind of, that was it. And unfortunately for me, one of the biggest frustrating thing for me is I don't really have any great record, not recording, a
yeah,
record of my work,
yeah,
So, when somebody says, "Oh, Axel stole your moves," it was Axel used to come in there with a camera and record shows. And I remember kind of being a little bit uncomfortable with it.
mm,
And when it really hit me, I went, I don't know, to his house he was having a party, and on his, console television in his living room, there was a stack of tapes on top of the TV and all shut down with all the dates. And it was playing,
wow,
at his party. And at the time I already knew that he was already, romancing Interscope, and there was some buzz going on. And I didn't know what to do. I was kind of powerless. Like, what are you going to do? It's not something you could you could copyright or anything. But the only thing I could say about it is for me, I took and I don't really see the similarity of Axel and me.
well, listen, it's one move, dude.
Apart from like the Welcome to the Jungle video.
Yeah,
The Welcome to the Jungle video. You
it's
look at
one
that
move. It's one move, and
Yeah, it's one move.
I
But
don't
it's
think he
also
stole your moves
something
per
else.
se. What is it?
Well, I come from a theater background. I was
Yeah,
I was a trained dancer, and it was theater. And I did plays and stuff, and I spent lots, hundreds, thousands of hours. Your podcast 10,000
miles. Yeah, yeah, you
Yeah,
got
I
the
understand
miles.
I understand the implication, but so
Yeah,
look, if you look at just, for instance, the Gazzari's venue,
yep,
that was 2.5 years. That was every Friday and Saturday night for 2.5 years. It was
wow,
2 shows a night. So it was 4 shows a week. That's 600 shows right there
yep,
on the Sunset Strip. 600. No one's come close to that, and never will. I mean, that was a residency on Sunset Strip, like pretty much right next to the Rainbow and the
yeah,
Roxy, and that was it,
yep,
And I was fair game. We were turning the house. The reason we did two shows was we had to turn the house. It would be a big group of people would come in, and we'd do a show. They'd turn the house, and another group would come in. That went on for
amazing.
2.5 years. So I took my stagecraft pretty seriously, and after a while, like anything else, you start to get really comfortable, and you start to look for different things, different ways to express. And I kind of brought to the fore the breaking down of the fourth wall, so to speak. I don't know if you know what the term is in theater, but in theater you have the left wall, the right wall, and the back wall, and then
Okay.
you have the fourth wall, which is the barrier between the performer and the audience.
Okay,
So breaking down the fourth wall is letting the audience in on it,
got it.
in on the joke, in on the show, in on the thoughts, the personal thoughts of what's happening on stage. Because me as a singer, I always considered myself kind of the conduit between the audience and the band.
Yeah,
I don't consider myself a musician to this day.
okay,
These guys that were behind me were so much better. But then again, my job was very, very specific. I
Yeah.
had to communicate this music to the audience. And breaking the third wall is kind of like saying, I'm going to get into a lot of theory, but
yeah,
like saying,
it's good.
look what's going on here.
Yeah,
You see what I'm saying? So I'm breaking character to talk with them about what's happening up here, about this fantasy delusion that's going on, this show, this
Yeah.
performance, whatever that may be. So out of that kind of thinking, there was a certain kind of attitude, and sometimes it's accomplished by an eye movement or a gesture
mm,
or grabbing some group's attention and bringing it in. So these were kind of the aspects that I think were kind of being borrowed, although he didn't understand what he was doing.
No.
I knew what I was doing. I knew the trick and the joke.
You knew the science.
He was like imitating it, but he didn't really know what he was doing. You see it even to this day. He'll look, he'll do some weird look or something and this and that. But Guns N' Roses has always been, they're all about, appropriating things. Even Slash looks like, Mark Bolan on the Slider. And to this day, that's his whole shtick, that's his shtick. And Axl's shtick is that he's like a badass motorcycle rider or something.
Yeah.
But we know in reality, if he would,
I did not have the insight as to how carefully you crafted what you did. So after all these years, like it's funny. And I'm not surprised, by the way. I'm not surprised because most times people achieve excellence. It's not luck. It takes a lot of preparation, a lot of study, a lot of work, a lot of reps. I knew you played a lot of shows on the Strip. I didn't know you did 600 nights at Gazzari's. Okay, that's freaking unbelievable. And when I say to you, it's one move, I mean that in the sense that's all he got. You know what I mean? Like when I met you and I saw you on film and I saw you at rehearsal and the Paris Calling video, there's a reasonable capture of that. I don't think to the full extent of the magic you brought to the stage. Not at all. Right?
Not at all, because no one was up to it at that point. I mean, I would give anything to have the raw footage of the Paris Calling video, and I would have loved to do an edit on my own. But what was happening at the time, you remember, Mick, it was just like the band was the Five Musketeers, and then we're going to go and we're going to dance with our little big hair and our spandex, and we're going to goof her off, and everybody has to be represented equally, the drummer and the bass player and the guitar player, the singer. Yeah. But, what I was trying to bring to the table was not the band. I was trying to bring that conduit to the floor,
to the music. Yeah.
But nobody was up to it. Not the videographers, not the record companies. Hey, I remember sitting. This is hilarious. I remember sitting at Epic Records in a big office building, just like you see on TV, with a big table and a bunch of people sitting around with their notebooks, and they go, we were thinking, we don't think we want this Paris Calling song on record. Serious. And I'm like, I mean, what? I mean, I think it's a really great song. It's probably, financially speaking, probably my best work. But, I mean, I have some songs that I even like better. But the audacity of saying something like this by a bunch of people that are just like counting beans, they have no idea. No. They have no idea. And also very well, the whole community of A&R people at the time was very small. It was probably 12 in LA. And everybody's always looking what the other guy's doing. And everybody's afraid to make a decision about anything because they don't want to step out, because you're only as big as your last act. If it fails, you're out. So anyway, we went off on a tangent.
No, it's good. I learned something today, and thank you for that, because as well as I thought I was able to follow what you've done over the years, and also some of the history through our meeting and writing and working in the studio together. And I always picture you as this natural performer and this guy who just was, Jack and I used to laugh. Oh yeah, he got hit with the it wand twice up in heaven before he got released to the world, like he'd walk by and go, okay, this dude's going to be 6'7" and a forward. Bing, got hit with that one. Right. This dude's going to be. But when you had the charisma and the we would just say, oh, he got hit twice with that stick. You know what I mean? So he got hit twice. Right. Oh, let's give him charisma. Ding, ding. He got hit twice, right? But what I've really learned, and I now know through the 10,000 Miles podcast, and really my only journey, is that you are no different than anybody else who's tried to master what they were doing. You studied it. You worked it.
You practiced it. I mean, if you were a football team, what would you do? You'd learn, if you really want to excel, you probably have to learn all the other teams' plays, all of them.
All of them.
And you'd have to train beyond what you're expected to do. Who was it? either Bach or Beethoven's, it's 10% inspiration and 90% perspiration.
Yep.
And there's a lot of work that goes into it, but without that 10%, some people don't even carry that. Then you have people that are willing to cruise around with 80%. I was shooting for the top, it didn't work out for me just by chance. I mean, there was a couple things that happened. I'm going to sit there and blame everything on anybody, but.
Hey, dude, you've, even to this day, if you look at some of the videos that you have out on YouTube, there are tons of current comments. There's still, I don't know how big it is, and you may have a better sense of it than I do, but, somebody will come out and go, hey, this video may be out there for 13 years, and someone will say 2024 here, 2025 here, right? And come back and make comments on that. And lot of the same comments about band ahead of its time. I was there in LA during the heyday, bigger and better than you could imagine.
It was a great time. It was a great time in LA. But I circle back and have to express part of my frustration is, I work now with a kind of a boutique record company that wants me to do way more than I want to do. Like this video here, this interview here, I was like, I don't want to do it. And then I realized who it was, and I went, wait a sec, I have to do this. But I don't even like really doing interviews anymore, because what happened to me was what I inadvertently created was kind of an urban legend of sorts.
Yeah.
So whoever was there knew what was going on. But if you're not there, and I come and do a show, at 65 years old or 60 years old, I'm not doing even a quarter of what I was doing, and I can't. So in my mind, I have people coming and going, they see the show and they go, well, it wasn't all that.
Yeah.
It didn't live up to the urban legend. I heard it was really, really great. I was like, well, that was, 35, 40 years ago I was doing that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of frustrating, but now everybody has a video and they all record. I found this one video that we did. I think it was in Columbus, Ohio at the university. And some like the sound man did a long shot of the stage from the sound booth.
Okay.
And that's probably my best representation of my work.
Really?
I'm about this big, and I kind of go, God, that's kind of screwed up. You know what I mean? I don't have any kind of. And then the second closest thing would be the Paris Calling video, which again, it was just like small little thing. I can do so much more. And why couldn't we just get that? It's what I've been working for. But.
Any have you ever tried to get the archives of that video shoot?
Yeah, we've tried a couple times. We actually started about a month ago. There's this company that wants to do a documentary on the band, and I'm just like, why? But they do, and we talked about this and that, and we talked about that about the Paris Con video. I said, man, I wish we can have, I wish we can find out who did it, and immediately the paper came out. Just, we'll search them down, but who knows if it exists? That was recorded in probably a 35 millimeter film, transferred to video, and then edited. And who knows if it even exists? It'd be great. Maybe it does. Maybe it's somewhere in a warehouse in Gardena or something. Who knows? If
it makes you feel any better, after I stopped working with Jack, I moved an hour north of Toms River to this little town called Westfield. Fantastic little town. And I opened up a recording studio there, and it was as the ADAT phase was coming into play, and I had 24 tracks at ADAT, nice 48 channel console, and I made a bunch of really great independent records there. And I've recently, when I say recently, I'm in the last 30 days, a couple of guys reached out to me and said, hey, dude, you don't by chance still have those masters, do you? And I said, I do.
And you did?
I do. I have them. I said, now here's
Was it on 2-inch?
No, dude, it was on VHS tapes.
Oh,
remember the ADAT? The 3 VHS tapes that went in, and it was only zeros and ones. It was 8 tracks per unit, and I had 3 that were synced up.
Okay.
But they were very volatile. Like, my maintenance of those machines happened before every single session. Literally, pull them out, open them up, clean the heads, make sure everything was right. Because if the alignment of that sub track where that was keeping everything aligned was off, you'd get that, you get all that crazy stuff. But if you were vigilant in the maintenance, it was at that time the lowest cost entry to 24 track digital you could get.
Right.
So I still have the VHS tapes. And so my friend, who I did, oh my God, I think we did 60 some odd songs together. And we, he said, I have a buddy in Nashville who has every generation of every piece of recording, multi-track recorder from, 1/4 inch this to 1/2 inch 8-track to 1/2 inch 16-track to 1 inch 16-track. Like he's got it all. He's got every machine that was practically made. And if you can get me those tapes, I can likely get them transferred to Pro Tools.
Wow.
And so I just literally came across the tapes. Now, I don't know if they're going to play. They haven't really. Actually, that's not true. They'll
play.
They've been climately controlled. They've been.
Yeah. If they haven't gotten some huge temperatures and this and that, it probably would. I mean, everybody used to always say, it's audio tape is just, it's going to degrade. Oh, you're going to lose this. I still have, believe it or not, I still have some work tapes from cassette.
Yeah.
You used to record the entire rehearsals all the time, and I'm just going, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, the hardest part is like getting a player that's running the correct speed.
Totally.
Like you can just tune that up and then you just go, wow, this is bad for a 50-year-old recording.
I'll tell you a funny story about an old cassette. So it was slightly after we met you. Jack and I had the opportunity to produce a record for a band called Baton Rouge. And they were out of Louisiana.
I remember them.
Good guys. Great guys, actually. And we were done with the record, or so we thought. Pardon me. And the guy who signed the band was a guy named Aziz Goxel. Aziz was Ahmet Ertegun's nephew.
Right.
And everybody thought Aziz was there on the family plan. Aziz was a sweetheart of a guy. He was a nice guy. He was doing his best to learn the ropes of A&R. I didn't follow his career. I'm not sure where he went on to. But when Ahmet heard the mix, he didn't like it. And so he said, bring these boys to my office and I want to talk to them about the mix. So Jack and I get a call. And we're like, we've been summoned to go see Ahmet Ertegun. We're losing our minds, dude. Okay, we're two idiots from New Jersey. We're going to see Ahmet Ertegun. For those who don't know Ahmet Ertegun, do a ChatGPT on him. Ask ChatGPT, tell me everything you know about Ahmet Ertegun, the founder of Atlantic Records, and you're going to get blown away. He signed the biggest of the bigs. He was a legend in the business.
Oh, I know. I remember Jack talking about him. I can imagine in my mind and hear Jack saying that name.
Oh yeah. So I had a black denim Harley Davidson branded motorcycle jacket that I used to wear, and it had the zipper pocket right here. And I took a cassette player, not a micro cassette, but an actual cassette.
Sure.
And I shoved it in this pocket. And right as we walked into the door, I clicked record and I left the zipper open about an inch. And so I think it was a 60-minute tape. So I had 30 minutes each side. And he starts, oh, boys, thank you very much for coming in. Well, let me tell you what's wrong with the track, and he goes on, and then he goes on to give us an entire history lesson of the music business. And he just says, this one song, it's fantastic, but it just doesn't feel groovy to me. Now, all of this story is to make a point, and you'll see I'll come back to it. Mm-hmm. And so he tells me, the song In the Air Tonight by Phil Collins. When he played me the mix, it had no drums. And Phil told him, but Ahmet, the beat is implied. To you, maybe you're a drummer, but not to the morons out there. And so he went back, and that's when the boom, 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 boom got put in, and the beat got put in so far in. So make a long story short, and oh, by the way, all of a sudden, in the middle of the meeting here, click. like the tape ran out, okay? And fucking Jack
Excuse me, let me flip
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Yeah. Guys, you got a minute? I want to turn the tape and hit record. So years had gone by, and I mean 25 years plus. I couldn't find the tape. In my mind, I knew exactly what it looked like. It was a completely clear cassette. It had just a one stripe label that I put on it, and I wrote Amit on it, and it was in a clear case. I knew that. It was imprinted in my brain, and I couldn't find the freaking tape. One day, I'm going through some old shit, and I grab an old toolbox, okay? And I lift the top tray out of the toolbox, Richard, and in there is the clear cassette with the one label and the black Sharpie that says Amit. And I'm freaking out. I don't have a cassette player anymore. And I certainly don't have one that's going to rip to MP3. Well, Amazon fixes that. And for $30, I got a cassette player with an SD slot on, or with a USB port on it. And I put a flash drive in there. And it's literally like, put this button on for record, hit play, and cross your fingers.
I have one of those.
It played perfectly. I moved from New Jersey to Colorado, from Colorado to Texas. It was in my garages. Texas garage gets super hot. Colorado gets super cold. You know, they were walled, but they weren't climate controlled. So God, it could have been 10 degrees in Colorado in the garage and could have been 100 in my garage here. It played. And I got it on MP3 and I sent it to Jack, and he sent it to some dude who mastered it, tweaked it up and brought up the sound and lowered the noise and did all this great stuff. But to your point, that's a long, great story for, yeah, the shit stays on the tape.
It does. They're pretty robust. I mean, I
unreal.
thought, you know, yeah.
That's incredible. Solid. So I'm going to skip around a little bit if you don't mind.
No, I don't mind.
You know, you made a comment earlier, and this is something I was talking to another musician about a few episodes ago. We were talking about the difference between the scenes in LA, New Jersey, and let's call it Seattle. And this guy made an interesting point to me, and I never really thought about it. And as much as you saw camaraderie and things happening in Jersey, and you thought that LA was cutthroat, I would say Jersey was maybe not as helpful and gracious as people may think. You know, you watch Springsteen videos and right. Bon Jovi videos, and Bon Jovi helped Skid Row, not for free. They helped Cinderella, not for free. Bruce Springsteen helped Southside Johnny this much. You know, it's like there was some stuff that went on. But the guy, Steve Bryant, who's a jazz guitar player, said to me, the Seattle guys got it right. Because those guys, and I thought about it and I did some research, they used to get together and say, hey, if we could all bring 100 people to a show, what if 4 bands played all back to back? Now we got 400 people to a show. And, you know, they'll buy your CD and they'll buy mine and yours. And like, there was a lot of sharing. Did you get that sort of perspective from what was going on in Seattle in the early 90s? Did you recognize it?
And I got a really good, really, really insightful perspective, as a matter of fact. And just to touch on and to close the whole New Jersey thing, you know, my experience in New Jersey was, you know, Tom's River and a small group of us. You know, close-knit friends, and it's a microcosm. And
we were like that.
That was terrific for me. Not saying that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
And in LA, so we moved to LA, and during the time when I was playing, when all this was kind of going on, you know, we just got finished with kind of the things like new wave-ish type of things, like, you know, Cars and Devo and this kind of thing. We moved into a solid rock genre, and everybody was, you know, beginning to copy each other and looking the same, and it was almost, you know, cut and paste.
Mm-hmm.
And there was, at the time, 10,000 bands in LA. Okay, 10,000.
10,000.
So as with anything with supply and demand, you get supply and demand, and you get a very kind of like lopsided value of things, you know. And it goes with anything. It goes with, you know, shoes or purses or bands. It was the same thing. And so because of that, it was cutthroat. It almost cut by necessity. The bands, I mean, the clubs introduced what they call pay to play, and they were unwilling to take any more risks, and they really didn't need to, because they could actually charge a band to play at their venue, because it was just there was no value to taking a chance to having a band come, and maybe they're going to bring 200 people, maybe they'll pack the house or whatever, but we don't have to take that risk because we're going to pre-sale all the tickets to the band. They're going to give us the cash. And if they want to have their parents buy all the tickets, fine, or if they, or whatever, but we're already paid. So we're covered. So the
Great.
clubs were already covered. They didn't have to take any kind of risk. So that's how kind of gross the whole thing got there. And that's why the competition, I didn't know the bands that I played with ever. Talk to them, nothing to do with them. Come here, do a gig, and leave. No, they were pretty much my enemies. I was like, again, we'll make another reference back to, sports and football. It's not in your best interest to be buddies with your opposing team. It's just what is there to be gained by? If you did your work, you don't need to be friendly. This isn't a social club. This is the bottom line. This is something that you want to kind of make a career out of it to some regard. Anyway, so I was with A&M Records, which was like probably my favorite label in LA. And I was under a development deal with them, right? And it was like right at the tail end of this rock cycle. Guns N' Roses has already come and well underway, and we have some Poison and Cinderella stuff just kind of lingering, and Warrant and all those bands, fill in the blanks. But I've noticed that the A&R guys at AM would go every Friday. They fly up to Seattle, and I'm like, what do you got? What's with Seattle? What's
going on up there?
Oh yeah, well, we got this really great band, Soundgarden, talking about this and that, and I heard it and I went, okay, well, slightly different arrangement. It's kind of like disassociated artist kind of vibe, you know. It's all contrived, no matter how genuine it looks, it really is, But, well, to make a long story short, after about a year and a half, I thought, okay, they already spent a fortune on it. We're going to get a deal with A&M. And then one day they come in, they say, yeah, we're just not hearing it. We're going to pass. And I was like, you're going to what? I couldn't even believe it. Yeah. And then shortly thereafter, we had enough openings there that we got up with Epic. We got a deal going and recording and stuff. This all happened really, really fast. But I remember the day when my lawyer stopped returning my calls, like overnight. Like I was like,
just shut it off,
like poison. Like I was kryptonite. You couldn't even get a hold of him at all. And within a week later, Pearl Jam, and the entire music business shifted.
Yep.
Within seemed like 10 days, completely. And all of a sudden, what I ended up being branded as a heavy metal band, if you can believe that. I mean, we were like the worst heavy metal band in the world, but that was where they categorized us, Kryptonite, nothing.
I understand.
Couldn't get any kind of deal. We're done with that. What they call it, hair metal. We're done with that. This is the new thing. This, and then some media agency or writer coined the phrase grunge, and that caught on, and it was grunge. I mean, they weren't calling themselves grunge.
No,
they were being
that was a writer,
a rock band, and they were doing what else. But there's a lot of great stuff that came out. Remember, Mother Love Bone, Pearl Jam, pretty good, really.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to admit, Temple of the Dog, Alice in Chains, this was like really, really great stuff. And it was like, we're not rebranded. It was like, we got rid of the leather and we're going to wear the Pendletons now.
Yep. Flannels were coming out.
The perfectly torn jeans, and we're not going to give a shit.
Yeah.
And it caught on, and it was just great. But at that point, I lost the our original A&R person at the record company, and I wasn't so embedded with the LA music scene that I don't think I could have. I think I could have made some small arrangement changes and kind of made a move laterally into that kind of genre of music. I
Yep.
wasn't from Seattle, but I mean, I understand it. A good song is a good song, right?
Yeah.
So I did notice it. So I think that the whole thing, by and large, and let's just use the term that they gave it, the grunge music, it was kind of a revolt against the competitive cutthroat theme
100%.
as was happening in LA, and like you say, back east as well.
Yeah.
And I understand it. I understand everybody's desperate. They get desperate, and people do desperate things. So I forgot the question, but
no,
I think I answered
we
it.
were just the question was just like, would you pay attention to that scene? My point was that there was a camaraderie there that was different than the 10,000 bands in LA, and even different than the same things that were going on in Jersey. You did get a unique experience in Jersey, Richard, because me, Jack, we were all very one for all for one family guys, and we were hungry, so we wanted to do whatever we could to help people. But we were also, banking on the fact that maybe somebody would tap us with the stick twice,
Right.
And so, and we just thought, hey, just keep churning out the work, keep making relationships, keep doing what we're doing. But my experience, albeit different, very similar, in that I had a publishing deal as a writer. I was meeting people like you. I was getting opportunities to work with people either pre their record, who may have been on in a development deal, or somebody who just got signed, or somebody who listened, like when the Alice Cooper stuff happened for me. Alice heard a song Jack and I wrote. He liked it. And he just decided he was coming to Tom's River for 3 weeks to write more songs. And he calls us, and we were out of our minds. And he's like, yeah, I got this song. It's called Hey Stupid. And I'm going to spell stupid, STOOPID. And that's all I got. And I'll see you in 3 weeks. And so Jack and I went to work, and together we collaborated. And oddly enough, he goes, I got the chorus. And I said, I got the whole song. And he goes, really? I said, yeah. He goes, when did you write it? I said, on my motorcycle on the way home last night. I had this whole song in my head, and I raced home to get to a cassette player and figure out what I was humming and singing. We talked my intro, my guitar riffs, my verse, my pre-chorus, and his chorus, and that became Hey Stupid.
It just came together, huh?
It just came together like that.
Wow.
We played it for Alice when he came out, and he said, his quote to me was, this isn't very hard to do, but I hate when guys sing better than me. That was me singing him the song, But and then we co-wrote about 8 more songs. Total of 6 made it to the record. But for me, as 93 turned and everything shifted to the Pacific Northwest, my rabbi inside the publishing company was gone. And that's when I pivoted to open a recording studio and trying to do that thing. And then ultimately my life led into the technology business. You mentioned through all of this, and I think people listening could understand, and there's plenty of material out there. I don't think we need to get really super beat up by, why you may or may not have gotten disenfranchised by the music business. Some of the obvious things are obviously how artists get paid, the quality of music that's coming out these days. We could fast forward to AI music. That's a whole topic unto itself, which is pretty freaking crazy.
We've become obsolete.
It's pretty crazy. If you like mediocrity, we've become obsolete.
Yeah.
At least that's the current state.
It is. I heard a song about a couple months ago written by some AI program or something. I guess the request was write a country western hit song.
Yeah.
And it popped out this song with a video and everything. And I went, wow, this is pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, I could change maybe 1 or 2 things, words. But other than that, I was going, wow, this checks all the boxes, has the right beat, has the right,
pedal steel solo
tone. And
Yep.
It was unbelievable.
I'm a subscriber to the platform called Suno, which I think is the best music creation platform out there. And I I don't tell people, like, I will never say, yeah, I wrote this song on Suno. I think that's an insult to my past and everybody who's worked hard to write songs. I'll say, hey, check out this song I prompted that got created on Suno. That's the language I use. And I was an early adopter. So the minute it came out, I became a subscriber. You know, the vocals sounded like they were auto-tuned. Well, shit, dude, in the past year, I'm going to send you the song when the episode's over.
Yeah, you should send me. I'm very interested. Don't forget.
I was talking to Jack last year before he passed. Actually, I'd gotten encouraged to reach back out to him because he and I hadn't talked in a long time. And somebody said, hey, man, he's sick, you know, and he probably would really like to hear from you. And I said, oh, dude, yeah, I got a call. And just one day I was sitting right here and something I had canceled. And I went, got to call Jack right now. Boop, picked up the phone, dialed. And much like mine and Jack's relationship, 10 years could go by and we didn't talk. And 10 years in a minute, we got on the phone. It's like, yo, dude, what are you doing? How's it going?
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he sounded very ill. His voice was very small. He was going through it. He really was. And he goes, you knew who told you? I told him. And he's like, yeah. And he said, I got 6 months. I was like, man. So I talked to him for quite a while. We said a lot of very nice things to one another. And I told him I was going to come see him in December. This was in November because I was heading back east. And he told me he had 6 months. So I'm thinking December works, right? 5 days later, he passed away. But before the 5 days, as I was monkeying around with Suno, I was sitting around going, I wonder what people think about when they know the end is near. When they maybe have a date or a time frame, because we all float around here going, I don't know when that's going to be, you know, and you don't really pay it much mind. And I said, I wonder what he really wants with his family and his life. And I just said, I think he just wants one last Christmas. I said that to myself, and I went into Suno and I prompted, give me a contemporary country music song with a male vocal about a guy who's lived a full life. He's had ups, he's got regrets, he's got this, he's got that, but and he knows he's only got 6 months left to live, and all he wants is one last Christmas. Now, Richard, I'm going to tell you, I've prompted a lot of songs on Suno, and a lot of them aren't that good. This song is sent by God.
Promise me to send. Promise me.
I'm going to send. I cross my heart. And
wow, what
I don't
a great
hope that,
story!
But I'm going to send you that. And
okay,
I mean, I think I even cried when it came out. I mean, because they give you two songs.
I'm sure you. If you didn't cry, it wasn't good.
No, it was unbelievable. But since I've been developing a lot or creating a lot via the AI, it's missing the magic. Does it sound like anything on the radio today? Sure. Is the mix decent? Yeah. Is the instrumentation very predictable? Great. But is the new Black Sabbath going to come out of that? No, a recreation of Black Sabbath can come out of it. Is the new Shark
because
Island?
It doesn't contain the error. You were talking
this
about,
is true.
You were talking about auto-tune and stuff.
Yeah.
And what makes auto-tune so annoying is it doesn't contain the error, and the error is where the charm is.
Totally. I mean, look at Bob Dylan, Bruce Springsteen, Mick Jagger, all the greats, right? All the greats.
That's where it's at. So if you have an error that could be glossed over by your presence, that's it.
Totally.
That's what it is.
Hey, let's turn the dial a minute, because I really wanted to talk about your sculpture work, your metal work. It was years ago where somebody had told me, "Oh, did you hear Richard Black's a sculptor now?" And I went, "Of course he is." I literally said that. And they go, "Why?" I go, "Well, dude, he's a creative guy." I said, "So does it surprise me?" And I knew you worked on cars, like you had an affinity for cars. So I'm like, he's a car guy. He's got an affinity for cars. He's probably, I didn't know you could weld or did body work or what you did, but I knew
I can do all that. I've restored like 4 cars completely from the ground up. I'm
amazing.
Very versed at it. So it was a natural progression for me.
Tell me all about it.
And what I liked about it, about the medium, and what I grew weary of in the music business is all the music business contains a certain degree of capitulation in order just to move around, just to move forward.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't be too pig-headed. You want to be pig-headed to a certain degree because you don't
Sure.
want to compromise, your essence or your character, but you really need to you got to put on that mask, and you got to make the people that are going to be able to push this to the next level, got to make them happy and feel good about themselves.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
sometimes you have to make decisions that you really wouldn't on your own. That you really wouldn't. And sometimes it works for you, and sometimes it works against you. But the most important thing is it has to remain your choice. I got a good story about one time when it happened to my favor. We were in the recording studio recording Law of the Order, and I was I don't remember what song it was, but it doesn't matter. But there was a B verse, like a pre-chorus, we call it, right?
Yeah.
That I repeated every time. So it happened twice in the song, and I would just repeat it because I felt like it was so good that I'm not going to be able to top it with another group of lyrics that sound that good, that roll so nice, that kind of feel so good. So I just said, I'm just going to repeat it along with the chorus. And the producer said, he called me on my shit and says, that one pre-chorus, that should be a different pre-chorus. I mean, on that, I said, no, I'm not going to be able to top that. If I write something crappy, it's going to ruin the song. He goes, yeah, I think you can do a better job. I go, no, I really can't. We argued this and that. All of a sudden, they stood up and said, well, we're going to go on our dinner break, and you stay here and work on it. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean you're going to leave? You're going to you're going to go eat and drink and have fun, and I'm going to sit here? Really? Well, they got up and went to dinner, and I was just appalled about them just leaving me. But they did. They left, and I was sitting there in the studio fuming. How dare he question my songwriting? What does he know? This sort of thing. But I also knew that he's not going to let this go. I'm going to have to come up with something. And I worked, and I got a piece of another part. There was another B verse that was just as good or better, debatable. I don't know which one's better. And, it made the song greater in the end. That was the lesson of the story, was that it made the song better. So that was one situation where capitulation kind of worked into your favor, but most of the time it doesn't, because these people that are the record company at the time, they're worried about their own career, so they're going to make decisions based on what they think. So that is often in direct conflict to a songwriter's objectives.
Yeah.
So I just got back to the question. I just got sick of the capitulation with the movie. I just couldn't do anything without having to, run it through committee somehow and seeing if everything was right. And I started doing this metal sculpture, and well, I realized that there was zero capitulation. I just do whatever I want from beginning to end. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. If they like it, they like it, and they don't, they don't. And the thing is done, and it's complete, and I have closure, and I can say, okay, it's done. I mean, the artist is always with the artist. It's when is a piece done is when you say it is. Some people work on, I know some friends of mine that are fine artists, they'll work on a painting for months and months and months. And at some point they just go, it's done. They make the decision. So I got into it, and it was good. I had all the resources and the abilities to do these certain things. And I always have liked metal sculpture of any sort, but I certainly couldn't, do, stone or clay or anything like that. But so it was kind of natural, and I enjoyed it. So that's how I got into it.
Are you still doing it?
Yeah, I do it occasionally. I don't do it that much. I'm kind of retired now. I just want to simplify my life. I spend a lot of time at the shore, and and I mess around with a couple cars and stuff. I just did an old 60s dune buggy, an old
Did you?
Manx dune buggy. It's hilarious.
Nice.
And I just had some friends visit from Europe. I had to entertain them for about a week. So I'm just I feel good. I feel content and happy.
How's retirement feel?
Feels great.
Yeah,
I love it. I mean, I know people that don't know what the hell to do with themselves. I have way more to do than I can possibly accomplish. I could get up in the
really.
morning and just like work all day long. I don't watch any TV. I don't play video games. I'm just trying to just live here in the moment. I don't chase joy, so to speak. Joy is not
Okay.
really that important to me.
Okay.
I spent a great deal of my life and people they chase joy. They think that it's just this state of mind that they think they're going to be happy. And I've come to a place in my life that the joy isn't necessary. If it happens, I'm open to it.
Yeah.
But I don't like the consequences of joy not being realized, because that's unhappiness and regret, and it's a big fall. So if I stay even and be comfortable with it, I mean, I'm comfortable with death. I'm comfortable with things being bored if I want. I'm comfortable with just living and being grateful about having food and a roof over my head and the ability to do things that are out of the ordinary. And I find happiness like that, but it's not joy. It's not like, oh, I'm in joy. But so it's kind of an even keel kind of thing. And on the days that I fail being even keel, and something does become
I
joyful,
think
hey,
we
I'm
may be
open for
frozen,
it,
Richard.
and I have a good day.
Hey, Richard, for you, and I love this concept of, not being obsessed with joy, but it's got me curious. Does this mean you're not happy?
No, I'm happy.
Yeah.
Happiness is a lot different than joy.
Okay.
Happiness is being content with what you have.
Yeah.
And I've done the rat in a cage thing where you're just trying to make a lot of money. And I had,
Yep.
I had all kinds of plans about being rich, and there was times when I was considered wealthy and lost
Yep.
everything, and became almost as wealthy again and lost it again. And I realized that the two states of having a lot and having a little had one thing in common, and that was it was never enough.
Huh.
It's never enough having a little bit, and it's never enough having a lot. Case in point, you can see these people that are worth billions in this world. It's just like, dude, you can't even really even spend that kind of money. Okay, I understand
Nope.
a lot of their money's in assets and this, but what is their driver of, like, why do you even continue?
Well, there's some wisdom that comes later on in life.
Yeah,
There's
it does.
a show right now on Apple Plus. I know you said you don't watch much TV, and I don't really either. But I got drawn to the show. It's called Your Friends and Neighbors, and the theme song to the series is called "Keeping Up with the Joneses," and it's about this uber ultra wealthy community where the abundance is just insane. The houses are, the smallest house in the neighborhood's probably 16,000 square feet. It's completely elite, but, somehow some of them are still one paycheck away from being homeless.
Right.
It's just that the paychecks are just extraordinary.
Right.
And a guy finds himself in that situation, and he loses his gig. And he says to his money guy, now he's divorced. He's got two houses. He's supporting his sister. Like, she's got her problems. And his money guy says, what are you going to do? He's like, I don't know how much money I got. How long do I have? And he goes, you got about 6 months. Right. So he can put this on. He's got to figure out, like, how to rebound to this elite financial level in 6 months. And I'm not going to tell you what he does here. Not so much that you may or may not want to watch it, but for anybody listening, I don't want to put a spoiler out there. But dude, it was a punch in the gut. It was a punch in the gut for me because, you easily get acclimated to abundance. Well, there's not one guitar on the wall behind me. There's 18.
Right.
And so I'm as guilty as the next guy.
Sure.
And I will tell you that's been probably 20 years worth of buying, selling, trading guitars. So it's not like I went out and bought 18 guitars.
Right.
But I did. Right. And there was a point where I had over 30 and it just became completely obscene. Not that 18 is not obscene, but how many do you play at once is really the point. But that was just yet another slight knock on the door to go, hey, dude, like, what are you doing? Like, how many more dragons do you have to slay in your life?
I'm not interested in it. I'm in the final chapter of my life right now. I don't have a long time to live. I'm certainly in the last thing. I don't have any delusions that I'm going to live, into my old age and stuff. But I just don't care. I just rather just do what I want to do whenever I want to do it. I mean, that's kind of rock star, isn't it?
It really is. Reminds me of an old joke about this Wall Street guy who goes down to the Keys and he rents a boat and a guide for the day. And the guy who owns the boat takes him out and he's able to get him on the best and the biggest fish in the universe. He knows exactly what he's doing. I think he charges like $500-600 a day. And the Wall Street guy says to him, I don't understand. Why don't you grow? You could take out a loan. I can get you financed. You can buy 10 of these boats. You could have 10 of them going out once. That's right. $5,000 a day. And then you can get 20 boats and 30 boats and 50 boats. And you can teach them all to do. And then you can sell the company and you can retire. What would you do when you retired? He goes, well, I buy a boat and take a guy like you out fishing once a day. Right.
I've heard that parable. It's great.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, I got it already. Like, why do I need all that craziness that's going on? I'm doing exactly what I want to do. And there's a ton of truth to that. But you did start off by telling me that you're working with a label again.
Well, it's a boutique label.
Some music.
It's a boutique label. What is a label? We did, it's the same company that did Gathering of the Faithful, which was just pretty much the least kind of capitulation you could possibly have for that. Was the closest thing to really for me to write something and have an artistic demonstration of my work. I mean, it wasn't the big Law of the Order, but if I look at it, even the cover and the artwork and the lyrics and the imagery and everything, it was much more lovely for me.
I bought it.
And, there's a couple things that I would have changed. That's always true. Did I say that word? I should have changed. But, and they want me to do another one. And that was, the last one I think we did was called Bloodline. And, I originally wanted to do Bloodline. I mean, the project started years ago, and I wanted to kind of make a swan song. I wanted to make a last song officially because I wanted to kind of like close the chapter on my music. I just don't want, I don't want to. It's just way too much trouble, right? And then again, there was, I have to pay recording. I have to, get musicians to be interested in it. And by now, the musicians know when we were working, people worked for free, at least on spec or something, but now everybody wants to get paid right away, and it's like, well, we haven't made any money yet. You got to kind of pay your dues a little bit on this. Well, the money will come, but you're not going to get paid now hourly. And so I had to kind of, again, capitulate and surround myself with people that, I don't know, were they genuine? I don't know if you could say someone is genuine if there's a money exchanged. It kind of changes the whole dynamic now, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It's definitely a different beast for sure.
Yeah.
So will you record new music? Are you going to do that? You're not sure yet?
If I do, it's going to be like very, very different,
Okay.
very kind of acoustic oriented. I had this one show I did years ago, and it was a benefit show. It was just me and Spencer, the guitar player,
I
a
was about to
cappella.
ask you about Spencer. Yeah.
A cappella. We just recorded it, and we did like a 30-minute set, all acoustic, guitar, vocals, period, nothing else.
Yep.
And we did top down, recorded the whole thing, and it came out so good. No mistakes, no bad notes. You can hear all the words. You can understand the songs. I mean, there were songs that have appeared in different versions on record, with electric
Mm-hmm.
guitars and this and that. But this was stripped down, bare bones, just coming out. And I just thought, wow, this is how this song should have been. And I wrote this song like this. And when I wrote a song, I don't write a song with this big, huge, aggressive instrumentation going on. I write it, the melody against a melody against some music, and I, kind of structure like that. But I don't think of this big production thing. So if I answered your question, if I do, it'll be something like that. It'll be something very, very, downplayed, a lot different. You'd never something you wouldn't expect. I don't have
That's
anything to
awesome.
prove anymore, so whatever.
You mentioned Spencer. I was about to ask you if you still work with Spencer or talk to him or see him.
He lives in Germany now, and
He does.
Yeah.
Okay.
Everybody left. The bass player left. He lives in England. Spencer lives in Germany, and then I don't know what happened to our drummer. We had a couple of drummers die, but
Wow.
so Spencer and I kind of just parted ways because of circumstances.
Okay.
There was it was kind of sad because I spent a lot of time with them, and as you know, you get into a relationship with these people. You're spending many, many hours with each other. They know everything about you. You know everything about them. You become best buddies for a period of time that was pretty tempestuous even, and just the circumstances and the way that it all kind of went down, we just kind of stopped talking to each other. I mean, I talk to him maybe once a year,
Okay.
and we talk about his kids and
That's it. How many
that
kids
kind of
does he
thing.
have?
That it's a very simple type of thing, nothing about music and something like that. So.
All right. Cool stuff. Hey, I want to do a little rapid round as we head to wrap up here.
Okay.
I think where I want to go here is maybe a little bit different than what I sent you. Well, that's not true. Do you have any sort of, as you look back, and I know things are different now than they've ever been, but if you could take, everything you've collected over the last 40 years and said, hey, if I were to give some feedback to somebody who about to embark on the journey that I went on, have been on, what's the takeaway? What's the advice you may give somebody?
That's a pretty hilarious question. Years ago, and this may answer the question. We were doing like this little tour with Rick Derringer. You remember Rick Derringer?
Yeah, of course.
A lot of people may not, but he to me was like, he was a celebrity. I was just an up and coming rock band like everyone else, and doing what. And I remember, we used to talk now and then. I remember asking him, and I say, hey, Rick. And he goes, well, paraphrase. I said, do you have any kind of advice for an up and coming band, like for us? Like, what he goes, yeah, get out as fast as you can. I was like, what an ass, that's like kind of screwy, because I was, we were high on this whole thing. And he was like already probably where I was now, or maybe a little bit younger, but he was already kind of disgusted with it too. And just, there's a couple people who get that, that magic wand you refer to. And a lot of times it's just luck. Sometimes it's, Sometimes it's nepotism. Sometimes it's a sexual favor. Who knows what it is, but some people win, some people lose. It's just
It's not
the
a
way you do it.
guarantee.
You can't, but but today, if someone asked me today, I think I would have to quote Rick Derringer, and maybe that's not what you expected to hear, but that's kind of what I would do. I mean, I look around and I look at the kind of people that are into music or trying to do something. I look around just in general and the type of the age group of people that I observe, and I relate it to the time when I was. I mean, people don't even have, they have a 5-second attention span. They don't seem to have any spatial awareness. They don't feel nothing seems too important to them. And I think to create music or writing, a writer in general, I mean, not so much sculpture, but like music and writing stories, whether it be, short stories or poetry or songs, this takes emotion to write a good one. It takes emotion. And again, now we circled back to that song that you programmed, that you requested about the Christmas thing. So it had everything. It had checked all the boxes, but it didn't have the emotion. It didn't have that error again. And I'm not noticing that. I'm not recognizing that with people around in general. So for me to tell somebody, get a band together with your best friends and get as best as you can and be prolific and write as much as you can and always write and never stop and never give up and don't let anyone tell you can't. I would be a hypocrite. I don't believe that anymore. I think we're at a time that it's just kind of over. I think the world's over, really.
The world's over.
Yeah, the world's over. With A&I, the world's over. I mean, what are you going to be, a doctor or a lawyer? No, that's all replaceable. The doctor will be gone. The lawyers will be gone. Any kind of laptop job is going to be gone before you know it. And what's going to be left is people that know how to do certain things well, or have kind of what I mean like physical things.
The trades,
the trades and stuff like that. I mean, that's for. That's for a regular person and to live, somebody that would have a right to live in a job. Being an artist is not for the faint of heart, and there's a lot of emotional tax that needs to be paid to be an artist.
There sure is. I feel lucky.
And it just make you cry sometime. You just want to just.
No, I hear you. Yeah. I feel lucky to have found success after the music business and to have been able to forge a life and have a family. I'm not a billionaire, right? And this podcast is part of doing what I want to do. It's not, I still make a living, I'm not retired.
That's terrific.
That'll come, but I have friends or my son's friends, I should say, my friends' kids or my son's friends who are, Berkeley graduates and out there doing it. And the path to music success is so different. And I can't put my finger on, unless it's touring, unless you're lucky enough to whatever you do to become popular enough via social media to warrant a promoter putting you on a stage and selling tickets for obscene amounts of money and still sell t-shirts and be on the road and grind and grind and grind. The rest of the music business has evaporated.
It has evaporated.
Streams, somebody said to me, "Oh, why doesn't someone write a new record? Why wouldn't they?" I'm like, why?
Why?
Yeah, why? I just watched 5 hours of the Billy Joel documentary. Why would that guy want to write any new songs? I mean, he did the one thing with that one guy 18 months ago, but it's like, first of all, he's got a catalog that's ridiculous. He could play anywhere he wants, whenever he wants. All he needs to do is maintain his health.
That's all.
And he's not going to make a cent off of it.
No.
He's not going to make a cent off of it.
So he should for a long time it's been, and this has been, ever since, I would say about mid-90s, music has largely been a jingle for the shirts we're going to sell.
Yeah, totally.
And once everything went digital and we didn't have the physical things to sell, people don't even own music anyway. They rent it. They rent everything.
They rent it.
And what are the people? What are the people? The people are the product.
People are the product. But even now, you talk about AI and I don't like to be, I'm very much into AI. My license plate says ChatGPT, by the way, if you could ever imagine how disgusting that is. But, I'm a giant geek. I use the tools and I'm very interested in it. And right now we're in a phase of life where the word is AI is not going to replace people, but people who use AI will replace people who don't. That'll soon shift
At least.
very quickly, right? That'll very quickly shift to much like any other things that happened during the Industrial Revolution. When was the last time you saw a guy lift up a tire and put it on and put 5 lug nuts on a car on a production line, right? 40 years, all those jobs moved.
I just read an article that in China, they can make a car in 96 seconds.
What?
An entire car.
Oh, you got as much as I'm definitely going to send you that song. You have to send me this article if you can find it. If you can find it, I got to read that.
Who do we need anymore? Who do we need? We don't need anybody anymore. I think it's dangerous. I'm glad to hear that you're making something out of it, and maybe it's because you're at the front part of it to be able to go. But I mean, just exponentially, if you just would look at it, it's not a slow rise. It's going to go up.
Oh no!
And I just don't know what's going to happen what happens when it goes completely vertical. What happens? Something's going to happen when that hockey stick goes completely vertical. When not today, by tomorrow, something is different. You won't even be able to tell reality from virtual. You won't even. There's some things I see occasionally that I go, and I can tell because I've been around, audio visuals for so long. And go, well, yeah, it's kind of hokey. But there's been some that I go, is that real?
Do you mean to tell me that Trump skateboarding in the skate park on the White House lawn is not real?
That's real.
Thank goodness. Thank goodness for that. Because my world was about to be crushed. I thought he was riding rails. But no, we're living in very uncertain, crazy times. I had a very long debate with somebody who takes the position that AI is the devil. And what are we going to do to police it? And I said, AI will police AI. As long as there are open markets and capitalism, there will be people who want to use those tools to thwart the people who want to do bad things with them. You could look back at the entire history of all technology. It's always been like that. New cool technology, somebody clobbering you with a hammer. A fix for it, a safeguard, new hammers, right? It just keeps going.
Yeah, true. But there's one thing that didn't. There's going to be a time. I guess there would have to be a time when AI becomes genuinely sentient, when it goes, I'm me. Once it gets to a point that says, I'm me, it's going to do what it needs logically to protect itself. And you
Possibly.
can't, when the cat's out of the bag, there's nothing you're going to be able to do about it.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like really kind of wow, crazy stuff.
Yeah,
but real, genuine sensation.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I don't know that we'll see that in our lifetime. And it's sort of myopic for me to say, fuck it. But I certainly care. But because I've got grandkids now, or a granddaughter, it's going to be interesting and fun to watch. I'm going to count on humans as much as I count against them. I think mankind has done everything for thousands of years it can to survive. I want to see disease be cured with AI. I've got 2 parents that died of cancer. Like, how can we use those tools to fix that? Would we? Is really the question. Not could we, would we? I want to see new inventions come up to make life and health better. I want people to have access. Elon Musk says that there'll be a time when Grok will not only contain everything it has access to, but it will contain all human knowledge.
See, I see that as dangerous. Let me ask you a question, Vic.
Yeah.
What do you think of the adage, a cured patient is a lost customer?
No, I hear you. That's why I said, would they versus could they? If you do the research on,
if you're talking about a capitalistic framework, that's
there's
the
more
obvious
money
way to go.
in the medicine than there is in the cure.
There's no gain in clearing anybody.
No.
None. It's too short. Just too short-handed. But if you could prolong something,
On the other hand, though, Richard, the first electric car was introduced to markets in the late 70s and clobbered by the big companies. It was toast. So here we are, 22, 50, 40 some odd years later. And now we've got e-cars all over the place. I don't know that it's going to take that long, but I'm certain at some point, there'll be some release of it in some way, shape, or form where maybe somebody who's had some sense of altruism left will want to make a name for him or herself. Because as a friend told me last night, even altruistic things are not done completely selflessly. There's somebody gets something from it. If it's not money, it's a good feeling or something.
Of course.
So, it's a topic we can talk about for hours and hours and hours. I'm hoping for the best.
Well, let me just wrap this portion of it up with
please,
with what I believe is missing, and this speaks to the whole altruistic component of the topic. And I'll have to quote Dostoevsky, who said that without morality, there's no immorality.
Yeah,
it speaks to the existence and the acceptance of something higher than you, a God.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If God isn't the arbiter of your ethics and morality, then the government is, and this world is.
Yeah, that's absolutely
and
true.
That's kind of what I see as missing. The electric cars. It wasn't the late 70s. It was 1908, I think, or 1950. They had battery. Okay. They had electric cars that they would switch battery packs, horseless carriages, and going. And they were doing that, and they quashed it then. And then in the 70s, they quashed it with that. What do they call it? EV1 or something like that. Those red cars from GM that you couldn't even own. You had to lease them. They quashed them again. And then now we have electric cars, but what is the cost? How many people, young people in starving third world countries, have to be injured and hurt and killed to collect the rare earth metals to make the batteries?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So that somebody can just be right around and act like they're care about the planet.
Yeah.
This is like this is the height of hypocrisy that we're living in.
Yeah.
And it's all driven by money.
Yep. The whole universe, follow the money. The whole world is driven by money and greed and power. And then the most pessimistic side of it, maybe that will never change. For me, I try to carve out my little postage stamp.
That's what you got to do. That's all you can do.
You carve out your postage stamp. You live with that morality. You live guided by, I was having a conversation with somebody about the presence of God in your life. And I've been on a brand new journey over, I'd say, the last year myself of really exploring lots of different religions and understanding why there are so many and 4,300 and some odd religions all rolled up to about 12 different sects of types of religion, 2.64 billion Christians, 2 billion Muslims, right? There's the numbers are staggering, but the reason I mention that is the argument I have is like, hey man, like if you don't know which is the right one and you don't know where you land in all this stuff and you're really trying to figure all that out, point to the things that come from a framework like that of community and belief and moral compass and these things, because most of them have that. The extreme of everything is absent of it, but most of these things, Buddhism, right? They have there is a moral compass component to this stuff. So
there is. Let me interrupt here real second.
Yeah,
but I'm glad to hear that you're on this journey. But I'm going to quote now Bruce Lee, who said, "It's like a finger pointing at the horizon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you'll miss all that heavenly glory." And I am a person that says the worst thing that ever happened to God was religion.
Oh, yeah, I agree.
So don't get on your journey. Don't get caught in this sect or this sect. the
Yeah.
object of the experience is to have a relationship with a God.
I couldn't agree more. And
No.
I've been quoted of saying that I love, I recognize a God, and but I don't like religion.
No, I hate
Right?
religion.
And that's these things. But I'm gonna correct you slightly because I'm a Bruce Lee junkie.
Okay.
It's like a finger pointing to the moon.
Is it the moon? It's not the horizon?
It's the moon. It's the moon.
Well, you're
Take
playing
your
at
eye
something
off
anyway.
the finger, or you will miss all that heavenly glory.
Okay, well, I
Bruce Lee,
paraphrased it at least.
you did, but it's good. I practically own the yellow jumpsuit, Richard. So, my father used to, when I was 5 years old, he used to sneak us into Bruce Lee movies in Brooklyn.
Uh-huh.
He would just like, come on, get you in. He'd take me and my brother, and we'd go see Return of the Dragon, Enter the Dragon. Dude, amazing.
Stuff.
What a rock star he was, boy.
Mm.
Holy cow.
Yeah, he was.
Hey, dude, thank you for taking the time with me today,
thank you.
man.
It was nice
I really
catching up
enjoyed
with you,
it.
man.
Really was. We could have talked for hours on so many different topics here, but I think we covered a nice wide spectrum of stuff. I love your take on the unaltruistic part of being an artist and why you came into the metal work. That was fantastic. It's a whole other topic why most of your medals are very well hung genital men. that's I'm like, okay, that's good. He's got everybody represented here, but some of that stuff was not. I mean, the pictures I've seen.
Yeah.
Congrats.
It's hard that you can't.
Brilliant work.
You have to. The only downside of it is to try to transmute it into some kind of money or a lot, or as much as I want, is that shipping of it is like enormously expensive, so I have to rely on live shows and things like that. But
what was the biggest piece you made before we say goodbye? How tall was it?
About 11 feet.
Come on, really? Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah.
How long does it take to put something like a project like that together?
Well, that project took me about 6 weeks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And was it just something you wanted to do, or were you commissioned?
Yeah, it was
to do
just something that it was a visual piece that it was for a designer. They had a design, and they had this area in their alcove that they wanted something that was particular dimensions, and and so I came up with that. Looked at the rest of the house and interviewed and what the people liked and what kind of things they did, and then created it.
Very, very cool. Hey, man, let's not make it another 30 plus years.
Okay. I got your phone number now. Is that the phone number?
Yeah, I got yours too. Yep,
okay,
that's
good.
my phone number. I've had that for 24 years now, that number. So it's not changing.
Mine's really old too. So
okay. Yeah. I'm going to send you that song we talked about.
Yes.
That'll be great.
Yes.
As soon as we disconnect, I'm going to send it.
Okay.
All right, buddy.
Take care.
Peace
God
out.
bless.
Take care, man. You too. God bless you. Please don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe.